Hello, good morning everybody. Greetings to all. I'm Dr. Dharitri Parmar, Professor in Physiology at Government Medical College, Surat. So today's session is towards the introduction to the endocrinology. This session is for the first MBBS students, and I'd like to brief before we start the actual topic. I request you all to revise your knowledge about the cell physiology, its functions, mechanisms, and homeostasis. So what do you know about the endocrinology? It's again one of the important physiological system which is a regulatory or has a control system. As you know, every system comprises of the various organs. Here the endocrinal system comprises of the glands. So organs are named as a glands here mainly. Anatomically, if you study the endocrinal system, it includes the pituitary glands mainly, which is in the head portions, has the two components, anterior pituitary gland and the posterior pituitary glands. Next follows is the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is responsible mainly for maintenance of the BMR in the body by means of the thyroid hormones, namely T3 and T4. The next hormone which can be enumerated, next gland which can be enumerated is parathyroid gland, which is a pair structure in close relation to the thyroid gland anatomically. The hormones secreted by the parathyroid are responsible for the calcium ion metabolism in the body mainly. Pancreas is another important gland which acts as an exocrine gland as well as the endocrinal gland. I hope you remember the difference between the exocrine and endocrinal gland. Endocrinal glands directly secretes the secretion into the circulations or into the interstitial fluid and to act upon themselves. Or exocrinal glands which secretes the secretions into the ducts. So pancreas has a dual function. It has exocrinal and endocrinal functions. The endocrinal functions mainly responsible for the maintenance of the glucagon in the body. Another gland is adrenal gland. Depending upon its anatomical position, it is also named as the suprarenal gland, which has a very important role in the body for the coping mechanism, which has hormones which are secreted during the stress named as corticosteroids. However, it is also responsible for the important ions to be maintained in the body, namely sodium and potassium. Another function of the gland of the endocrinal system can be studied as a different system, that is reproductive system. The hormones secreted for the reproduction functions are by the ovaries and the testes, namely estrogen, progesterone and testosterone. Apart from this, you can discuss the fetal physiology with the study of the various hormones secreted by the placenta. Mentioning hypothalamus is must with the endocrinal functions as a gland, as a control system, and it regulates directly or indirectly all the functions of the endocrinal glands. So what are the functions of endocrine system? As I told you, the control system or the regulation is the main functions of the endocrine glands. Like the nervous system, it has a functions over the regulation of various homeostasis metabolism. So how does it act? The difference between the nervous system and the endocrinal system, apart from the anatomy, functionally rapid response for the coordinations or the regulation is function of the nervous system. Like you have studied about the reflex arc, the movement of the body is controlled by the nervous system, motor coordination, sensory response, all are under the control of nervous system. Whereas endocrinal system has control for a prolonged period and it regulates the slower processes in the body, like growth of the body, development of the body, calcium metabolism, and the growth of the bones. Or for the gametogenesis, it controls the maturation of the ovum or maturation of the sperm. So it has a long-term regulations over the various functions of the body by means of the hormones. That is the main function of the endocrine. However, on enumeration or on listing the functions, either you can mention the endocrinal functions as individual glands and enlist the functions by each hormones or each gland. Commonly, you can describe that endocrinal gland secretes their chemical messenger into the extracellular fluid known as the hormones. So, primary function of the every endocrinal gland is to secrete hormones. They either act locally or they circulate and reach up to the target cell to perform their task. Second function is it controls the homeostasis, which is very important functions. Overall function of the endocrine system is the maintenance of the milieu interior. By regulation of the substrate concentrate in the cellular fluids, it regulates the various and sodium, potassium, calcium, sulfate, phosphate, etc. It regulates the water concentrations. It regulates the metabolic rate, and by means that it regulates the energy in the body. It is responsible for the maintenance of the body pH and body temperature. Endocrinal system is also responsible for the regulation of growth and development of a human body. It has a stress coping mechanism mainly by the adrenal glands. Its important role is for the reproductive maturity, gametogenesis, and reproductive physiology. So, as you know that endocrinal glands secrete a chemical messenger which is known as a hormone. What is a hormone? Endocrinal hormones are secretory products of the ductless glands which are released into the blood circulations, transported to the specific target cell or the tissue where they elicit their physiologic, morphologic, and biochemical responses. May I repeat? The endocrinal hormones are secretory products of the ductless glands which are released into the blood circulation, transported to the target cells or the tissue where they elicit physiologic, morphologic, and biochemical responses. So on enumeration, you can have the list of the hormones. One of the important thing is endocrinal hormones. So as you know, endocrinal hormones can be named as the tropic hormones. It can be the thyroid hormones T3 and T4. Pancreas has the secretion of the glucagon, insulin. Parathyroid secretes the parathormones. Other hormones on enlisting is the steroid hormones by the adrenal corticals, hormones by the adrenal medulla, epinephrine, norepinephrines, insulin, etc. are the hormones secreted in the body by the endocrinal system. Other hormones are also found in the body, like hormone secretion by the heart, that is known as ANP or ANF, that is atrial natriuretic peptide or atrial natriuretic factor. As the name suggests, it is released from the atria and function is natriuretic. It regulates the sodium ion concentration through the kidneys. Another important hormones, which is also named as vitamin in the body. Generally, vitamins have the nutritive values, unlike the hormones. This vitamin D, which is activated in the body at the skin, liver, and kidney by the biochemical enzymatic activities, and this inactive vitamin D is converted to the active vitamin D through the various stages known as the calcidiol and calcitriol conversion. So hormones of the kidney, skin and liver can be named commonly as a vitamin D. However, liver also releases the somatomedin and IGF-like structure, that is IGF-1, IGF-2, etc. Another important glands or the structure in the body, which is one of the largest hormone secreting system, that is GI hormones. You have already studied the gastrointestinal tract or the digestive system, and you are aware about the gastrin, CCK, secretin and the 25 hormones secreted by the GIT. Another important hormone which will be discussed later on, that is secretion of the melatonin by the pineal gland. So these are about the hormones secreted in the human body. What are the functions of a hormone? As I told you, with the functions of the endocrine systems, you can analyze the functions of the hormones individually with every hormones. However, commonly you can analyze them in the two categories. One is they regulate the biochemical reactions, and secondly they regulate the bodily processes. So biochemical reactions are regulated by the hormones by different mechanisms. The first is either they stimulate or they inhibit the rate and magnitude of the biochemical reactions. They control the enzymatic activities and they regulate the rate and magnitude of the biochemical reactions. Second function is causing the morphologic, biochemical and functional changes in the target cells. The third function is it modulates the energy producing processes by the controlling food and products. Like it regulates the glucose concentration in the blood or the storage of the glucose in the body. It also regulates the storage of the amino acids or the fatty acids and so on. So by regulating the energy producing substances in the body, it helps to maintain, produce or to use the energy in the body. So these are the three major functions of the hormones which are regulated by means of the biochemical reactions. They also regulate the body processes. So that is by, bodily processes includes the growth, development, maturations, metabolism, differentiation, transcriptions. These all activities taking place in the body, in the organs or in the cell. So how do the hormones act? As this picture shows that this is a secreting cell, means that is an endocrinal gland which secretes a hormone. Secretion of the hormones which reaches up to the various cells. Now, how do you categorize the cells? For this specific hormone, cells which has a specific receptor is a target cell for that hormone. So, by circulations or by different modes, it reaches up to the target cells, binds to the receptors and perform its task by changes in the biochemical reactions or the morphological changes. If the cell which does not have receptors on it for the particular hormone, it is not a target cell for that hormone and it does not perform its task on that cell. So this picture is about the what is receptors, what is target cells and how the hormone acts on a very basic introductions. Now, as I told you that hormones are secreted into the extracellular fluid. What is extracellular fluid? Yes, it is a blood, but it is without the cellular component. So mostly the hormones are secreted into the circulation, that is into the plasma. However, it can enter into the interstitial fluid also. So the mechanism, chemical signaling by the hormone can be by means of the different modes. The first mode is autocrine. What do you mean by autocrine? As you know the term auto, it acts on itself. So the secretion of the cell acts upon itself for the positive or negative feedback or for any biochemical changes within the cell. Second is the signaling. This is the second picture which describes the signaling through the gap junctions. So adjacent cells which is closely in proximity to the cells which is secreting the hormone, hormone enters into the target cells directly through the communication between the adjacent cells. Okay. Another mode is paracrine. What is paracrine? It is acting on the cells which is in the nearby position, not connected by the circulation, but the hormone reaches up to the target cells by diffusion. So you can see here this picture, there is a little distance between the two cells, the cell which secretes the hormones and the cell which is target cells. So from the endocrinal cell, the hormone enters into the interstitial space between the two cells. By diffusion, it enters the target cells and performs its task. Another mode is endocrine. So endocrine, it enters into the circulations and reaches up to the target cells. So these are the three different major modes: autocrine, paracrine and endocrines, where cell is secreted into the circulation, reaches up to the target cells and shows its physiological effects. However, about the gap junctions, I'd like to say that it is a neurocrine communications. So generally in the neuronal cells, this kind of the communications are found. The example, if you remember that you have studied about the neuromuscular junction or the synaptic junctions, where release of the acetylcholine into the synaptic space and it acts upon the postsynaptic wall or the cell membrane. So this is the example of the neurocrinal communication rather than the endocrinal secretions. And another example you can have with this neuroendocrinal secretion is, you know the name of the hormones as oxytocin and ADH, which are secreted by the posterior pituitary glands. However, hypothalamus is connected to the posterior pituitary gland by the neuronal connections, and that is how you can say that the neuroendocrinal secretion of the oxytocin and ADH by means of neurocrinal communications. So it is not that it enters from the hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary by circulation, but still they are the hormones. So another mode of this transmission is neurocrinal communications. Is it clear about the various chemical signaling? So today's topic will be continued with the how do we study a hormone in the endocrinology physiology. So as you know what the hormone is, what are the functions is, how do we describe a hormone? Hormone can be described by different points or different headings. That is, first is the chemical nature. Here you will describe the hormone, what is its basic chemical nature. Normally what we find, the classification of the hormones according to the chemical nature includes either the protein hormones or the steroid hormones, that is derived from the cholesterol, or they are from the amino acid derivatives. We'll discuss them in details. Let's have a look at the points where headings under which we can discuss the hormone. So one is the chemical nature of the hormone. The second is synthesis, where they are synthesized and when they are secreted. Where they are stored is the important topic discussed, and it is different or characteristics with each hormone. Another thing is after secretions they are transported and reaches up to the target cell. So here you should know how they are transported and where do they bind it. So this was about the transport of the hormones. Next comes is the half-life. What is half-life? Half-life is the time taken for for the reduction in its active effect to the 50%. That we'll discuss in later. Another topic is the concentration of the hormone in the circulation. This is important and the pathological view, that if it is in the physiological range or it is crosses that, and if it crosses that, whether it is increased or decreased. The normal physiological range of the hormone secretions, and on the radioimmunoassay or in the pathological lab, if the value falls in the physiological range, it is known as the U state. U state, that means it is not hyper, it is not hypo, it is in the normal range. Another thing is, what is latent period? Next is the receptors. What type of the receptors are there? What is the mechanism by which the hormone attaches to the receptors? And what are the other mechanism of the other changes which occurring as the hormone receptor complex is formed? Next is regulation of the circulation. Now, how this secretion is regulated? It can be on the basis of various stimulant or inhibitors which increases or decreases the secretions. Apart from that, it has its own pattern, like it has a biological clock or it has its own circadian rhythm. It is also controlled by the various axes in the body through the positive or negative feedback mechanisms. This axis can be, the basic knowledge we'll discuss it as a hypothalamo-hypophyseal axis, or hypophyseal and the target cells, or the endocrinal gland and the connections between the various glands. So this is how we'll discuss how the secretion is regulated, and we'll discuss the basic knowledge regarding that. Next comes the mechanism of action. Here the important things to be discussed with mechanism of action is the second messenger. Will be discussed later on. The physiological effects of the hormones is must part when you describe the hormones, followed by its applied role. So, whenever there is variation in these normal functions of the hormones, what will be the picture and why it occurs, and it leads to your knowledge how you treat a patient clinically. Is it clear? So, hormone can be described by its chemical nature, synthesis, storage, secretions, circulating forms, half-life, concentrations, latent period. You can describe along with its receptors and relationships, mechanism of action of the hormone receptor complex, regulation of the secretion of the hormones, physiological effects of the hormones, and the applied physiology. So, the first thing is chemical nature of the hormone. It is one of the classification for the hormones. There are various classification for the hormones depending on their various characteristics. The first is a classification according to the chemical natures. It can be protein, it can be steroid, it can be amino acid derivatives. On the basis of the mechanism of action, they can be classified. On the basis of the nature of the action, they can be classified. On the basis of their effects, they can be classified. On the basis of the stimulation of the endocrinal glands, they can be classified. Like that mechanism of action will be discussed later on. I would like to introduce to one terminology which is discussed here on the basis of the stimulation of the endocrinal glands. So, here we have categories of the tropic hormones and non-tropic hormones. Which are the tropic hormones? The hormones which affects the another endocrinal glands are the tropic hormones, and the hormones which affects the target cells, which is not endocrinal gland, are the non-tropic hormones. These are the two major categories on the basis of which classification of hormone can be studied. So, chemical classifications, they can be protein hormones, they can be peptide hormones, they can be amino acid derivatives, they can be steroid hormones, they can be glycoprotein, which is rarely described as a different category. It is a conjugated proteins, and one of the category is eicosanoids. So what are they? Let's discuss them. Protein, which is a protein hormones. I used to remember as a UG students which are the protein hormones. The glands which starts their name with a P are the protein hormones. Anterior pituitary glands or the pituitary hormones. Parathormones, that is a secretion of the parathyroid glands, and the pancreas. So normally, this can be remembered as the hormones of the pituitary, pancreas, and the parathyroids are protein in nature. They are derived as a primary, secondary, and a tertiary configuration. Here you should apply your knowledge of the cell physiology, the functions of the endoplasmic reticulum, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is responsible for the synthesis of the protein. So this protein starts synthesized in the gland where they are supposed to be synthesized by the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And this leads to the processing of this hormone into the Golgi apparatus, and they are stored in the secretory vesicles within the cell. Like insulin is formed in the beta cells of the pancreas. On enumeration, here I have given the 2 or 3 examples, that is insulin, glucagon, parathyroids are the protein hormones in nature. Which are the peptides? What is the difference between the protein and peptides? Peptides are a linear chain of the residues of the amino acids. Depending upon the number, their structure is different and their functions are different. On example, you can have the oxytocin and the ADH, which is also known as the vasopressin. So these are the 2 hormones which are peptide hormones, and they have amino acid residues having the different numbers of the amino acids in their linear chain. Another category is amine derivatives, that is tyrosines. Amino acid tyrosine is the main element for the synthesis of these hormones, and that is why they are falling in category of the amino acid derivatives. On enumerations, they are thyroid hormones and adrenal medullary hormones. So on name, they are T3, T4, epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are derivative of the tyrosine amino acids. Another category is hormones which are synthesized, which main element of their synthesis is cholesterol. So the hormones which are derived from the cholesterol, mainly all the hormones which have a suffix as ol, that is corticosteroids, which are the testosterone, all the reproductive hormones or the corticohormones of the adrenal glands are steroid hormones mainly. However, placenta hormones are most of the hormones are known as the similar to the reproductive hormones, and they are steroid in nature. Another form is glycoprotein conjugated protein. Although this is a rarely discussed as a separate classification, they are considered as a protein hormone, but their structure is little different as they have a conjugated form of the glucose or the carbohydrate groups along with that in their structure, and these hormones are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormones. Another classification is eicosanoids, which are the small fatty acid derivatives of the arachidonic acids. On example, you can discuss the prostaglandins in this classification. Okay, so this was about the classification of the hormones according to their chemical properties. Here I have tried to discuss various characteristics of the hormones in one table. As you know, there are 3 major types of the hormones: peptide hormones, steroid hormones, and amino acid derivatives. Here, the amino acid derivatives are categorized in the 2 different things: the hormones of the adrenal medulla and hormones of the thyroid. Okay. So first thing comes is a solubility. When you discuss any substance, the solubility comes important in the body. Peptide hormones and the catecholamine hormones are water solubles, whereas the steroid and the thyroid hormones are lipid soluble. What does it mean? Do you remember the structure of the cell membrane? It is a bilayer lipoprotein structure. So it has a lipids and the proteins. That means lipid soluble substances can easily pass in through the cell membrane. Remember these things. They are lipid in nature and they can pass through the cell membrane easily. Peptide hormones and the catecholamine hormones are water solubles. So through the plasma. So what does this say to you? Water-soluble substances or the hormones passes to the plasma without the carrier proteins. So this leads you to the circulating form. See the transport in the blood? The substances which are water-soluble are free to transport. Okay? They are transported through the circulations without binding to other substances, without help of the other carrier proteins. Where the lipid-soluble substances has to bound to the globulin mainly to travel through the circulation and reach up to the target cells. Another thing about this solubility of the substance, that is the receptors. Okay? The substances which can enter into the cells have receptors within the cells. Whereas the substances which are water soluble travels through the circulations, act upon the receptors which are outside the cell membrane. So the receptors for these hormones, for the proteins and the catecholamines, are on the external surface of the cell membrane. Cell membrane means particularly the target cell membrane. Whereas the steroid hormones and thyroid hormones enters into the cell membranes and their receptors are either within the cells into the cytoplasm or maybe in the nucleus. Clear? So their receptors are either external or internal. Another thing with the same classification is that half-life. What is half-life? We'll define it later on. You can remember here the water-soluble substances have the short half-life, whereas the lipid-soluble substances have a longer half-life. About the synthesis, as I told you, the standard protein synthesis by the cell can be described along with the synthesis of the protein hormones, that they are discussed as the pre-prohormones, converted to the prohormones, stored as a prohormones and released as a hormone when they get the stimulus. They are released by this exocytosis because they were formed earlier and they were stored within the cells. However, the steroid hormones and the thyroid hormones are released by the simple diffusions. Why? Because they are not in the stored form within the cells. They are synthesized only when they get the stimulus to be formed. So as soon as they are formed, they leave the cell. So they leave the cell by diffusion because they don't need to be stored. But the hormones which are needs to be stored leaves the cell by the exocytosis. So these are the major comparative study of the various hormones by means of the solubility, synthesis, storage, release from the cells, transport in the blood, that is a circulating form, half-life of the cells, receptors, and obviously the examples. Examples, as I told you, the hormones of the pancreas, pituitary, and the parathyroid are the protein in nature. Hormones of the adrenal cortex and the reproductive are steroid hormones. Thyroid hormones on name, they are T3 and T4. Also you can name as the thyroxine and triiodothyronine. And the catecholamines are the secretions from the adrenal medulla, named as epinephrine and non-epinephrine. Clear? So what is half-life? As I told you, the biological half-life of a hormone is the time it takes for the hormone to lose half of its physiological activity. May I repeat? The biological half-life of a hormone is the time it takes for the hormone to lose half of its physiological activity. So it comes to 50% of its effectiveness in the concentration, in the functionality, and that is the time duration which is recorded as a half-life. You will study the plasma half-life, biological half-life in the pharmacology with more details. Hormones are metabolized after the secretions, and this degradation of the hormones is a factor which affects the plasma half-life. Peptide hormones are short-lived in the circulations as they are free in the circulating form. Because they are not bound to the carrier proteins, they are more exposed to the enzymes which can degrade them, and that is why the free form of the hormone is more liable for the shorter half-life. So normally the peptide hormones or the water-soluble hormones are having a shorter life as a half-life, whereas the hormones which binds to the carrier proteins, plasma proteins, for the transports are inactive and protected for the degradation. So they have a longer half-life. On enumerations, they are the lipid-soluble hormones and they are steroid hormones, or you can say the thyroid hormones. Clear? So these hormones, they are circulated through the plasma, reaches up to the target cells. These target cells may be at the nearby or may be at the distance. So when they reach up to the target cells, how do they identify the target cells? They identify their target cells by the presence of specific receptors. There are specific receptors on the cells, on the target cells, and the hormone attaches to the receptors which can be either external or which can be internal. So types of the receptors. They can be classified as ligand-gated ion channels. The examples are acetylcholine, GABA, glycines, mainly the neurotransmitter substances. Do you remember the transmission and the activations of the acetylcholine as a neurotransmitter substance? The same is applicable in this concept. Another receptor classification is G protein coupled receptors. These are mainly with the protein hormones. However, you can say they are the tropic hormones. Which are the tropic hormones? There are substances released by the anterior pituitary glands which are the regulatory hormones named as releasing hormones or the inhibitory hormones affects the various endocrinal glands for their secretions. Like TRH, that is that affects the thyroid hormones. TRH is known as thyroid hormone releasing hormones. The same way PIH, prolactin inhibiting hormones. So these are the tropic hormones which are secreted by the anterior pituitary glands. Their receptors are G protein coupled receptors mainly found on the endocrinal gland. However, the other hormones also have these receptors on their target cells. They can be parathormones, glucagones, prostaglandins, norepinephrines. Another classification which is unique to the insulin mainly, that is insulin which contains inherent tyrosine kinase. And through this tyrosine kinase, they bind to the receptors and they leads to the biochemical changes in the target cells for the utilization or the conversion of the glucose for the various purposes. And lastly, the receptor linked kinase. So One is the inherent kinase in the insulin. The another is a receptor-linked kinase, where there is no intrinsic enzymatic activity. These hormones are simple hormones known as the growth hormones, and prolactin are the examples. The receptors for these hormones are receptor-linked kinase. Classification of the receptors mainly is external and internal hormones. External and internal receptors. So, receptors which are present in the nucleus, in the cytoplasm, are known as the internal receptors. They are present within the cell or inside the cell membrane. It can be integral, it can be inside the cell membrane. They are present in the cytoplasm, or they are present in the nuclear wall or nucleus. The external receptors are present on the cell membrane. It can be on the external border, or it can be integral proteins. So this was about the location of the receptors. Now, what do you know about the receptors? The one terminology which comes with the knowledge of the receptors, that is upregulation and downregulations. Hormones which are cellular changes by binding to the receptors on the target cells. The number of the receptors on a target cell can increase or decrease in response to the hormone activity. Hormones can affect the cells directly through the intracellular hormone receptors or indirectly through the plasma membrane hormone receptor. So this increase or decrease is the term upregulation and downregulation of the receptors. These are physiologically important, and these are the indicators for the leading to the clinical conditions. Physiologically, the aging can lead to the decrease in receptors, downregulations of other sex hormones. So there is a downregulation of the estrogen receptors, which leads to the effectiveness of the estrogens and suppression of the menstrual cycle appears. The simplest physiological example for the downregulation. The same way, there is upregulation, means there is increase in number of the receptor. Suppose there is a hyperthyroidism. Increase in number of the receptors for the thyroids will show the hyperactivity and the hyperfunction by the thyroid hormones. So these two terminologies you should be aware of, that is upregulation and the downregulations of the receptor, that is increase or decrease in number of the receptors on the sides. What are these numbers? Normally the protein has lesser number of the hormones, protein has more receptors, while as steroid hormones have less receptors within the cells. However, they ranges between 10 raised to 3 to 10 raised to 4 receptors in count, and for the steroid hormones they are 10 raised to 4 and between 10 raised to 4 and 10 raised to 5 into 3 on numbers. So this was about the number of the receptors. However, another important things to be discussed with receptors is regulation of with the hormone is regulation of the secretions. So here you should know the various terminologies regarding the control of secretion. There are two different mechanisms, namely there are positive feedback mechanisms and negative feedback mechanism. By this time you must be knowing about what is positive feedback mechanism and what is negative mechanism. Positive feedback mechanisms can be observed in the regulation of the oxytocin, FSH and fibrin clot. Do you remember the fibrin clot study you have studied? Because of the positive feedback mechanism, it keeps on forming the clot mechanism. However, there is some end point that can be discussed later on. And the negative feedback mechanisms which can be studied as a long loop, short loop, or ultra short loops. Another things which affects the secretions, that is a various stimulants. So decrease in blood glucose concentrations can lead to the activation of glucagon. The same way like glucose concentration can be maintained by the secretion of insulin and glucagon. So glucose concentration is maintained by these two hormones, and it is a stimulant for the secretion of these pancreatic hormones. The same way there are different factors which affect the secretions of the hormones can be discussed later on with individual gland and hormones. So this picture describes the loop mechanism. These green indicators that release of the estrogen into the circulations will send positive feedback to the anterior pituitary gland and to the hypothalamus. Now, what is this? What is this? This is a long loop, short loop, and ultra short loop. Okay? The negative feedback mechanism means release of the estrogen into the circulation sends impulses, sends signals to the higher centers, the higher glands, that is anterior pituitary and the hypothalamus, the regulatory glands, to suppress further secretions. That is a negative feedback. In the positive feedback mechanism, the secretion will send impulses to the higher centers, the controlling glands, to send or to secrete more hormones into the circulation. That is a positive feedback mechanisms. The ultra short loop mechanism is that the gland itself is affected by the secretion of the hormone. It has a negative feedback mechanism on the ovary itself. What was the thing? I think. Yeah. The short loop. What is short loop? The immediate previous gland. So when ovary is controlling the anterior pituitary gland in this picture, it is a short loop. When the ovary is sending the impulses to the hypothalamus, it is long loop. Okay? So it is jumping the two glands and reaches up to the highest center. So it is a long loop. So these are the loop mechanisms can be observed in the positive and negative feedback mechanism. This is how the control of the secretion of hormone can be studied. Control of the secretions depends on the various axes. Commonly in the endocrinal gland, we must know about the hypothalamo, hypophyseal, portal circulation and system. What do you mean by the portal system? It is a circulation where there is two networks of the capillaries. So there is a hypothalamo, hypophyseal circulation which has two networks of capillaries, one in the that is within the two structures, and this portal circulation for the releasing hormones or the tropical hormones from the pituitary glands under the control of hypothalamus. So this is very important system. Anatomically you know it better. The hypothalamo hypophyseal portal system is one of the control for the secretions. Another is the neuronal secretion or the axis which is known as the hypothalamo hypophyseal endocrinal gland target cell axis. So in the previous picture we have seen, see under this axis, the signal starts from the hypothalamus. It sends impulses to the anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary sends impulses to the ovary. Ovary sends its secretion to the target cell as a uterus. So this whole structure is hypothalamo hypophyseal. Hypophyseal is another name for the pituitary glands. So hypothalamo hypophyseal ovary target cell axis is observed in this picture. Clear? So this is regarding the control system of the hormones. Another thing you should know about the regulation of the hormones. One of the important factor which affects the secretion is time. There is a prefixed time with the rhythm. So every month one ovum gets matured and released into the uterus further to be fertilized. That is a biological set in the human female body. What is circadian rhythm? If you study the corticosteroid hormones, it has a peak level of the hormones at the midnight 2 o'clock. And you can observe the height of these hormones in the morning 6 to 8 morning. So this pattern observed in a secretion of the hormones, particular hormones, mainly circadian rhythms for the hormone secretion is observed with the growth hormone and the corticosteroids, which will be discussed along with the particular gland or the hormones. So you can keep it in mind that when you discuss the control of the secretion, you should know about the hypothalamo-hypophyseal axis. You should know about the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. You should know what is the effects of the time by means of the circadian rhythm by the biological clock. Circadian rhythm is mainly the cycle of the 24 hours. So it is a circle of the time in a day. So it is a daily pattern you can observe. Biological clock may be the monthly cycle, or maybe it starts after the puberty, it ends at the menopausal phase. These all are the examples of the biological clock set in a body. Apart from that, what you should know in detail is mechanism of action of hormone receptor complex. However, I doubt that the time permits us. I'll go briefly for the mechanism of action by the hormones. That hormones bind to the receptors to form the hormone receptor complex, through which their biochemical functions are mediated. These hormones are lipophilic in nature and are derivatives of the cholesterol T3 and T4. They are found in the circulation in association with the transport of proteins and process relatively and estrogen progesterone. This is described about the amino acid derivative hormones or the steroid hormones, which has a intracellular receptors. However, the hormones which has receptors outside the cell membranes, they are mainly the protein hormones. They bind to the cell surface receptors and stimulate the release of certain molecules, namely the second messengers, in which they perform the biochemical functions or biochemical changes. Thus, hormones themselves are the lipophobic in nature, usually transported in the free form and possess the shorter half-life. So this is the knowledge we have already discussed before. So what is second messenger? Second messenger, when it comes to the second messenger, you should know what is the first messenger. So hormone itself is known as the first messenger. For an example, how the second messenger mechanism acts. Here I am describing the glucagon. Glucagon binds to its receptors on the plasma membrane on a hepatocytes. For an example, it's acting on the glucose concentration, and on the hepatocyte it has a receptors. So released glucagon into the circulation.
Whether you are aware of it or not, your body language is.
So glucagon binds to its receptor in the plasma membrane of the target cells. Here we are explaining it as it is binding to the cells present on the hepatocytes. This bound receptor interact with the G proteins. It turns into the adenylate cyclase. This is an integral membrane protein. This activated enzyme, adenylate cyclase, converts the ATP into cyclic AMP. This results into the increased intracellular concentration of the cyclic AMP. So glucagon, by binding to the receptors on the liver, activates the G proteins, which turns on the enzyme for the conversion and activation of the cyclic AMP system as a second messenger. So what happened here? With the increase in cyclic AMP, the protein kinase binds to the cyclic AMP. So therefore, the catalytically active mechanism is observed within the cells. Conversion of the ATP into the cyclic AMP in presence of enzyme adenylase cyclase results into increase in cyclic AMP. Active protein kinase A, adding to the phosphate and other enzymes, change its confrontation and modulating changes within the cells. F5. So cyclic AMP leads to the confrontation and modulating changes within the cells for its biological reactions. However, levels of the cyclic AMP decrease due to destruction by the cyclic AMP phosphodiesterase and inactivation of the cyclase enzyme occurs. So this is a cycle. It has autoregulatory systems, and the glucagon acts by cyclic AMP as a second messenger mechanism. Various mechanisms are observed for this, like it can be through the G protein, it can be through the calcium ion, it can be through the ITP or inositide phosphate. This is a depiction of the mechanism which I have explained. You can see there is a receptor on which the hormone binds to the integral protein, leads to the activation of the G protein, activation of the enzyme cyclase, converts the ATP into cyclic AMP, leads to the cell-specific response within the cells. And this is regulated by the phosphodiesterase enzyme. So this is a messenger. There are various mechanisms for this as a second messenger, which can be by means of the G protein, which can be by means of the IDP, which can be by means of the calcium. Another thing goes here as physiological effects of the hormone can be discussed with any hormone or gland. Applied physiology. So what is applied physiology? At this juncture, what you should know is what is hyper secretion of the hormone, what is hyposecretion of the hormones, and what is eustate and what is insensitivity. Briefly, I'll describe that the hypersecretion of the thyroid gland leads to a condition known as hyperthyroidism, where there is increased secretion of the thyroid glands. Hypo is decrease in concentration of the physiological limits of the hormone in the circulation. Like the same way, you can have the condition known as hypothyroidism. The secretion of the thyroid hormones are reduced in the circulation, maybe because of any other reason, lead to the hyposecretions. Eustate is the normal range of the thyroid secretion in the circulation. What is target cell resistance or insensitivity? As you know, the NIDDM, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, in which you may find the insulin receptors being insensitive to the insulins. So this is one of the phenomena which leads to the clinical disorders known as the target cell resistance or the insensitivity of the receptors. So in clinical condition, you can label the disorders as a primary cause, secondary cause, or the tertiary cause. So for an example, I would like to say that if the site of dysfunction is adrenal gland, so there is on clinical findings, you find that cortisol is reduced in circuits. Corticosteroid level is reduced in the circulation. So it can be a primary cause if you find that ACTH by the pituitary gland and the corticotropic releasing hormones by the hypothalamus are normal in circulations. So it is a primary cause. If it is a secondary cause, in the axis the second level is affected. So where the adrenal gland may be normal to function, but there is a deficiency of the ACTH by the pituitary glands. If it is a tertiary cause, that means the reason may be at the other than these two, and most likely it can be the secretion of the CRH, which is reduced in the circulation. So this can be discussed along with the study of the hormones. However, I would like to complete it at this point. Thank you all for your queries. You can contact me directly on my phone or whenever we'll meet. All the best. Stay safe. Thank you.